Hi friends, today we are going to discuss about the integrity. Integrity is also one of the fundamental pillar which we need to take care as part of CAA trade. So integrity main focus is to ensure data reliability and correctness. See, as today's systems are tend to access a lot of critical data and they are tend to work with a lot of use of data. So in this process, we want to ensure that every time we access the data, which is reliable and it is corrected. And also, we also want to ensure that if we want to have a consistent, reliable and correct and accurate data, it is the necessity to prevent unauthorized alterations, right? It could be unauthorized alteration could be a result of malicious intention or it could be accidental. So there are many ways there is a chance to have unauthorized alteration. So as a security practitioner, you should ensure that prevention of unauthorized alterations are properly enforced. At the same time, you should also give a privilege for authorized changes, but you should effectively make security control in place such that it will stringently address threats posed with viruses or intrusions to the integrity. And if you see the perspectives of integrity, there are different ways people are trying to define the integrity. One of the such of the thing is we generally tend to hear that is prevention of unauthorized modifications. Let it be any change. If it is trying to change by any unapproved user of the system, we must stringently take care in preventing such modifications. That is the fundamental rule of preventing unauthorized modification. So the second important things we need to focus is prevent unauthorized changes by authorized users. See, this is also integrity. Here, let's say simple example. Let's say a school is there. School have a database where they are keeping the marks. So the particular marks database where the marks of each and individual student being entered is that system is going to have the privilege to access both as well as teacher as well as student. The teacher has been given access to enter the marks of each and individual of student, and the student has been given privilege to view his marks with respect to each and every subject he has written as part of the exam. But if you see, for the system, both are become as a authorized users at the system level. But for a student, modification of the marks is an unauthorized change. So integrity means not only letting unauthorized modifications, it is also stringently enforcing such that no unauthorized changes can be happened even with the authorized users who are part of the system. And ensuring consistency is the one of the important. It means you should always ensure that data you are trying to maintain is accurate, valid and verifiable across the relationships. In this process, you should ensure there is internal consistency and external consistency. Let me explain simple. The consistency means, let's say simple example. Let's say you have a database. So let's say in database, you have a one field called email ID. Let's say you are trying to change email ID in one of the record. The subsequent places where it has to be automatically, it has to be reflected. it has to happen automatically. That correction of change should be happen consistently. That is what we call it as internal consistency. What is external consistency means? It should be based on the facts. Means, let's say in the banking system, let's say a customer has deposited some amount and he has withdrawn some amount. So always the amount, it has to be displayed on the ledger. It is aligned with the depositor, how much amount the depositor has invested into the bank. The ledger has to be updated based on the how much amount he has been withdrawn from from his account. So it is nothing but the external consistency. So the consistency of data has to be factual. It is true. Consistency has to be there. That is what these are the key perspectives if someone has to understand when dealing with the integrity. And to achieve integrity, we definitely have some mechanisms or some processes we need to follow. The first and the fundamental important thing you need to have, if someone is trying to ensure that integrity is maintained as part of his system, he must implement access controls. The reason is the access control, the moment the concept of access control comes into the picture, there is a scope who can access the data, object or resource can be controllable. As I stated already in the previous class, confidentiality, data means the actual factual information which you want to maintain the integrity. Object comes means it could be any of the thing, let's say file which is having the information data. It could be a memory location where the data is being stored, that we call it as object. And the resources to process this data, to process this data using objectives, we are depending on some systems. Let's say a server is there, a data management system is there. So these are the some resources which we are trying to process this thing. So we should always ensure that maintaining integrity can be achievable with the access control, and it has to be taken at multiple levels. Wherever the data being processed, at whatever the level, we should ensure that integrity is in place. And to have the integrity, we should have validation measures. Those measures has to be done. The data has been not tampered or modified by any unauthorized activity. So to ensure that integrity, to maintain this integrity very accurately, we should have integrity in place in the storage level. Means when we are storing a data, you should ensure that it is properly designed such that accurate data will be there, and you are ensuring that it is happening in a manner such that the consistency and the accurate and the reliable and truthfulness of the data is maintained. When if you are transmitting a data into the network through transportation, means we are evident that lot of data is going from one system to another system in day-to-day life, right? Different servers, you are sending different systems, you are accessing data from different servers. So it is ensure that whenever data going from in the network, it is always ensure that the receiver end or recipient end should be have a confidence that data is not modified. So you should have a necessity to maintain integrity in the transportation as well as processing, means in use during access time also. You should have that the system should ensure the integrity. We will see in the subsequent classes the different types of techniques and technologies which are supporting this thing. And the continuous oversight, see, it is always one thing we have to remember. as a security practitioner or developer, any control you are implementing, it has to be monitored regularly. It should be one of the fundamental requirement in security. You take any control, if you are implemented, means it is your responsibility to ensure that that control is stringently working as per the requirements, and it is enforced all the time. So that is the one of the things. See, the fundamental idea very simple. We are all having a lot of security controls which will discuss, and lot of information is there how we need to take care about the security. But the thing is, it is not mere just implementing the control. You should monitor, and you should do the necessary corrections if it is required to ensure the security and safety, right? So this is the continuous oversight has to be there. Now we understand that there is a necessity to maintain integrity. What is meant by integrity? But let's come and we will try to understand what are the threats to integrity. See, viruses, logic bombs, these backdoors and malicious modifications, these are all various types of attacks which are trying to impact the integrity, right? So it could be intentional or unintentional, but there is some way through which attack is going to impact on the integrity, right? So, and another threat to integrity is unauthorized access. See, let's say if you have a proper access control mechanism based on the verification of the identity, if you are making someone to access, it is a good practice. But let's say that there is no mechanism like that, anyone can able to come and modify it, may end up with unauthorized access. So this sometimes it could be a vulnerability where attacker is exploiting, which lead to data also, right? And as we are all aware of that, everything technology is going to implement, it is something like which we need to ensure that it is going to implemented in the development phase. These are all factors. So you should ensure that proper mechanisms are in place such that no bugs or vulnerabilities are there in application. If they are there, there is a scope that someone is going to take the advantage of that vulnerability and trying to impact the integrity. And the last but not least is human errors. See, as we know that there are three things in the security: people, process, and technology. As we are of that, then there could be good process, there could be good technology, but the people are not very well aware of their duties, because of it could be a mistake, lack of knowledge, it could be a oversight, or not adhering to the policies of the organization, and misconfiguring of security controls may lead to the cause of a threat to the integrity, right? Now, to have a integrity countermeasures, if someone want to ensure that I should defend from these threats which are posing impact on integrity, we should have proper access control and authentication. So we know the moment the concept of access control comes, there is a restriction and verification process will come into the picture. This makes this support for the building of integrity in the system. And intrusion detection system, because as we know that, see, I said like in the previously, for the maintaining of integrity we should have continuous monitoring. So we should have intrusion detection systems where they're trying to monitor for unauthorized modifications. And one more technique for integrity to ensure integrity thing is encryption and hashing. If you have encryption, it is very difficult for someone to understand and modify. So hashing also will help. It is a technique through which you can verify the integrity of the data which is being processed. And interface and input restrictions. See, let's say you have a system which is properly crafted such that input restrictions are there in the system. It prevent unauthorized data manipulations. Simple. Let's say that ATM machine is there. It is tend to design for the interaction of the end people who are using the banking services. So they always try to limit the interface and restrict the inputs also, because see, the proper input validation will also ensures the integrity. But the last and the important thing is having the personal training. So if people are aware of what is good practices, what are the processes involved in this thing, how cautiously he has to enforce those processes, follow those processes and enforce the security controls, if he having knowledge about what is good to do and what is not to do, it will reduce the errors and the security oversights. So at the end of the day, the integrity, the key thing is maintaining accuracy. Means always ensure that the user of the system is going to access the correct and precision data. The moment you talk about integrity, sometimes you end up seeing these terms. Truthfulness. If someone says that I want to have truthfulness, means the system should always reflect the reality, accurate data and validity. So it should be, a record should have a maintain logical and factual data and accountability. See, you take any system, if you want to ensure integrity, you should make who are using that system accountable, such that each and every action taken as part of that critical entity or resource or object will be made accountable with the actions of the users of the system. It indirectly helps to get the integrity. See, if someone knows that okay, you are being monitored, you are being accountable for the changes you made as part of the system or resource, then they tend to be more cautious, and it makes someone accountable in terms of who made what action. That is the fundamental thing. If you want to achieve integrity, means you should have a track who made what changes on what data. And responsibility. So assign controls over data or process. So there should be controls in place like that, who can perform what on with respect to the data access or process. So responsibilities has to be clearly demarked. And completeness. Ensure all necessary components are present which are tend to process the critical data. And comprehensiveness. Covers all essential elements fully, means it is the thing like that, if you want to have integrity, you have to look in all these multi-dimensional aspects which are required as part of your system requirement. You should take care all the different directions through which integrity can compromise, and you need to take care of all of these things such that you will end up accessing the better integrity. That's it for today's session. We'll see next session knowing much about the availability. Thank you.